had tremendous growth with very low inflation. In fact, growth can fight inflation, proper growth.
Love that. Just love that. Say that all day long, sir. Joining us now to talk about it, Michael Faulkender, former Deputy Treasury Secretary, Marc Sumerlin, Evenflow macro managing partner, former NEC, White House NEC deputy. Gentlemen, welcome. Are you surprised? He said that a couple times. He really leaned into the idea that growth does not cause inflation. And I mean, I've heard him say that before, but not so emphatically and not in such a, spotlight, highlight speech like this at Davos.
I'm not surprised at all that he said it, because it very much explains the success of the first term and why we had the combination of high growth, high wage improvements, low inflation during the first term. That was the whole idea to be mimic the second term. And I think what he's doing is trying to now connect the dots for the American people and say, we did tax reform, we're doing deregulation, we're unleashing energy. And the reason we're doing it, the reason we are solving the affordability crisis is because growing out supply brings down prices and improves pocketbooks better than any kind of government stimulus program.
Mark, but it is rare for presidents, I think, to be quite that. Now, Reagan did a little bit of that a long, long time ago. Sometimes George W. Bush did. He has some supply side blood in him, my friend George W. Bush. But this one, it seems like it's really on the president's mind.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to this morning, like everybody else, and I'm thinking, this has something to do with his Fed choice.
Yep.
If it's because he repeated it a couple times, he even hedged it and said most times. I mean, so you could have some crazy Biden demand side. But does it inform your thinking? Do you think it informs his thinking about his Fed chairman?
I do very much so. I mean, so what we're seeing in the economy is we're seeing productivity accelerate. And when growth comes from productivity, inflation falls, unit labor cost falls, and that's what's happening. The Fed has some very traditional models that thinks that there's an upward limit to growth, and there is no real limit to growth. And one of the things I want to tell you is if we look at last year, the unemployment rate actually drifted up a little bit with very rapid growth. We can grow faster next year than we did this year. And we need to put it into that extra gear. And I think what President Trump understands is that he doesn't want a chairman at the Fed that is stomping down on growth just because of growth's sake. If you have inflation, you have to deal with it. But don't get scared that growth might cause inflation when it's coming from productivity, which is going to lower it.
So this is key, all right? Because, all right, be honest, the Fed has a whole history with maybe a few, like a couple Greenspan years in the 90s. Fair enough. We had a big productivity spurt, information revolution, perhaps. But basically, the Fed, when I forget what McChesney Martin said, but you want to take away the punch bowl, all right, when the economy gets really hot, just take it away. That's the way they operate. Trump is saying, don't do this. I don't want a Fed guy to do this. I want to, all cylinders, take a rip at the ball. Do not stop this. He even said at one point, grow at 20%. I know it's a little high.
But again, if you can create the additional capacity within the economy to withstand all of that increased demand that's out there, then you can realize that improvement in people's lives without seeing inflation. And that's why I think he wants a Fed chairman that is coming from, I think, from the administration, somebody who's been involved in creating economic policy that will then go manage the monetary policy in a way that is aligned with the administration's view on productivity improvements, on energy, on deregulation, on tax reform, that those things are going to create the non-inflationary environment for growth such that you can have a more accommodative monetary policy.
Does it argue, Mark, does it argue for Kevin Warsh or Kevin Hassett?
I'm going to make a pitch for my friend Kevin Warsh. I think one of his advantages is he sits out in Silicon Valley, and so he's out there where the productivity is happening. And I think the further you get away from DC and the closer you get to some of this innovation, when you talk to real companies, it's amazing what's happening, and they don't view themselves in any type of box. They're excited about the future. Change can happen. It can happen fast. And so I like a Fed chairman that's going to get out there in the country and be where the excitement is happening. And so I don't know Kevin Hassett as well, and I'm sure he would be a good choice as well. I've worked with Kevin Warsh, and I think he's on this. So.
He's a brilliant guy. Kevin Warsh is a brilliant guy. They're both dear personal friends of ours, and they're both very smart guys. I don't know why, but here's institutionally, that's what you're bucking. You have to put somebody in there that does not agree with the traditional Fed. And the whole town, the Congressional Budget Office, the Joint Tax Committee, everyone argues, it's called the Phillips curve, all right? Too much growth causes inflation to go up. Or if unemployment rate goes too far down, inflation goes up, which I think is another falsehood. But Trump's saying, I don't want that. And he's going to fight the entire economic establishment.
Well, and that's why I think somebody who has...
Which is good, but...
I think somebody who is going to go in and change the hiring practices at the Fed, somebody who has credibility with economic models to say there are ideas out there other than neo-Keynesian, and we need to make sure that we have diversity of thought at the Fed. That's why I think somebody who is an economic scientist, like our friend Kevin Hassett, possibly has an edge, in addition to what we've talked about before, which is I think that President Trump knows Kevin Hassett, and I think going with somebody... I think he worries that he doesn't want another Jay Powell where he went with somebody he doesn't know. And that's why I still continue to think, despite what was said last week, that Kevin Hassett has the upper hand.
Lisa Cook going to keep her job?
She is going to keep her job. I mean, the Supreme Court was pretty clear on that. I think what we...
Can I just tell you one thing?
Yeah.
You may be right. But the issue isn't interest rate, the Fed funds rate. It's did she commit mortgage fraud?
Yeah.
It infuriates me to listen to this debate. It's a canard. It's a red herring. The issue is, did she commit mortgage fraud? It's not about the federal funds rate or the Fed targeting. That's what, we got to get out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I started late.
No. I mean,
But it annoys me. It's a canard. The whole thing's a canard. Did you or did you not have 3 primary residences, as the allegations suggest? That's what you want to know about, not the Fed funds rate. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
10
seen the evidence on that. I mean, the Supreme Court has just made the decision that they're being political and they want to keep it out of this. So
stick to that. Michael Faulkender, thank you very much. Marc Sumerlin, it's a pleasure to see both of you.